what I'll do, and I did this last year, is I walk the stage, so we're really here to have a conversation. I'm going to go over here, because I don't want to get into the mic. So just really here to have a conversation. I do have my lunch pail back, and it's not my lunch pail, it's my grandfather's lunch pail. So those of you who were here last year, you'll know the story of what this means to me. You know the story that this was my grandfather's, and this was his first lunch pail. And it was his first lunch pail because while he was working, trying to get a job in the manufacturing sector at McKinnon's, every day he would show up, the foreman would come out and say to the Polacks and the Utes, go to the back of the line. And so with the work that was there, if there was enough work, everyone at the back of the line was told to go home. So he did this for months on end, and he always came with a brown paper bag. And so finally, there was enough work to go around. So everyone in the lineup, including the Polacks and the Utes, and Utes are a slang term, a derogatory term for Ukraine, he got a job. And after a couple months, my grandmother went out, got him a lunch pail. So he had that through his whole time at McKinnon, then became GM. So this means a lot to me, and I'm named after him, so it's more of a connection that I have with him. But it sits in my office because, as I said last year, this is what motivates me. This is what motivates me because every day you got to come to work and you got to work hard. And then some people are saying, friends of mine were going, what's in the box? What's in the lunchbox? Do you put anything in? And I do. And there's things that I put in, and they're my inspiration. It's my kids. So they're in my box. And they're in my box because this is why we do what we do. This is why the council does what they do. Is we're trying to build a better community for our kids. And there's another reason why they're in that box. And it's because I don't want my kids in that generation ahead of us to have to wait in a food line. I don't want my daughter and her generation to experience violence against women. I don't want my kids to have to wait for housing on a housing list. I don't want them to be unemployed. So that's why they're in this box, because no one stood up for my grandfather when the person came out and said to the Polacks, get to the back of the line. In this community, we shouldn't tolerate when someone says, you're a terrorist, go home. That's not my community. And I'm going to stand up to that. And I stand up to it because of them, because of everyone in this room, because we are a welcoming community. And I think that's very important for all of us to understand. That our community was built on people coming here to escape from the challenges that they faced in other parts of the world. My grandfather came from a communist country. My grandmother came from a communist country. The Ukraine, she came from Ukraine, and my father came from Poland. My grandfather came from Poland. So they were escaping tyranny. And they faced obstacles when they got here. But our community has grown because of those who have escaped other parts of the world that were unsafe to come here and raise families. I'm a product of that. Standing right here. So I'm not going to tolerate when someone says, go back to your own country. I'm not going to tolerate when someone says, you're a terrorist. Get out of here. That doesn't sit with me. And it shouldn't sit with anybody in this room. Because that's not the kind of community that we're building. That's not the kind of community that I think we call home. So it's within all of us to really ensure that we stand up when someone has been knocked down. We help them up. So before I get into sort of the backdrop of what happened last year, I do want to acknowledge Greg White is here, who's the campaign chair for the Welland Canal Fallen Workers Memorial, and Greg has done an amazing job raising funds. He's exceeded our initial target. It is a memorial for those who built the Welland Canal and died doing it. Over 137 young men died building the Welland Canal back in the 1930s. And the federal government at that time said that they would create a memorial. It's taken us this long to get the memorial built. The memorial will be built. And again, it's a testament to the Irish and the Italian, the Polish, the English, the Russian, all the people who came here to work on that, which was back-breaking labor, and they did it. And they built arguably one of the best engineering feats of the time, connecting two Great Lakes, allowing for the flow of transportation right out to the Atlantic, and it was done by these young folks that you see the image of on the pamphlet that we have outside. So I encourage you to look into it. If you want any more information, I'm sure Greg will be open for a discussion. Greg's here. Greg, can you just take a stand up so people can see you? Greg White right there. And then as well, we're always looking for mentors. And we have a number of newcomers to our community. And when we bring newcomers to our community, it's important that we set them up with a network of mentorship. So those of you who are looking to get involved and help people that have recently arrived in our community to become connected with business, I encourage you to get in touch with the NICI, which is Niagara Immigrant Connection Initiative. And Karina is over here from the NICI who is helping to shepherd that. Karina, just if you could stand for a minute. Karina is shepherding that, so if you're interested, I want you to get in touch with Okay, so I know it's a Friday afternoon, and I set the timer on at 20 minutes, so I'm going to try to keep to the 20-minute mark so that you can continue to network and maybe have a couple more glasses of wine, whatever you do. No one's judging. But I want to talk to you about three things. I'm going to talk to you about the vision for the city. I'm going to talk to you about the customer care, the culture of care that we're bringing to the city, and the last point I'm going to touch on is Compassion City Building. So for what's happened in 2015, and we can look at our permits, we can look at the numbers of permits that have been issued, $93 million in total permits. That shows growth, it shows opportunity, it shows people are investing in our community. $5 million of that went into manufacturing, $55 million into residential. So you see that we're continuing to attract investors, we're continuing to have local companies like CMI over on Glendale Avenue who have invested in their business. You have FBT over in the Fort Weller area investing in their business. And these are manufacturers that I'm talking about, THK in terms of investing in businesses that are about growth and where our opportunities are. So I can talk to you about that. I can talk to you about the highlights from 2015. One of the greatest highlights, I think, was the opening of the first Ontario Performing Arts Center, right? That was amazing. And if I can ask, I want Councillor Markelli to take a stand. This is the one individual around council for the last 8 years that was the voice, I think a lonely voice for a while, that became a very loud voice, ensuring that it wasn't just one theater, it was 4 theaters. And Mark, I want to give you a round of applause and say thank you. For the opening of the Marilyn I. Walker School of Fine and Performing Arts. That, to me, was just one of the most special days. And it was one of the most special days because Marilyn I. Walker was there. She was there to see her vision, a vision for the creative minds to be located in downtown St. Catharines. She was there to see what was a long process finally materialize, and boy, did Brock River knock it out of the park in partnership with the city. But what they did with that former textile business, turning it into arguably what I think is one of the best architecturally rendered buildings that combined heritage and the advanced look of a modern building and blended it all together. I think it's one of the best looking buildings in Canada, and I want to thank Jack Lightstone, who's here for that leadership as well. Please stand. Jack's term is complete at the end of this year, at the end of this in June. And without Jack's leadership, I don't think we would have the Marilyn I. Walker School downtown. I don't think the Catharines complex would have materialized the way it did. And it takes strong leadership to move agendas and move the way people think. And that's what Jack did. We're thankful for what you've done, Jack. We'll never forget it. And the testimony of your leadership is seen by the different buildings, the investments that were made, and I think more importantly, the level of output, the intellectual output that will come out of Brock University moving forward that will position St. Catharines Niagara well into the future. So Jack, thank you very much for your leadership. And there were other highlights, but we're getting noticed, and that's the key. St. Catharines is getting noticed. Too often we sit in our little clusters, our little silos, and we think, we're still falling behind, We are catching up now. We're getting noticed. You look at the Buffalo Business First talking about Innovate Niagara and the awesome work that they're doing at Innovate Niagara. I know Jeff Chesborough was here with his team, and how many businesses are being incubated out of there. Last year we gave an Emerging Leader Award to Pixelnauts, and looking at what they're doing and how they, even in the past year, in terms of what they're doing with video game design and how they've accelerated their growth. But it's not just them. You're looking at the companies that are coming out of Innovate Niagara, in addition to the Catharines complex, the BioLink there, in addition to the Niagara Research Center at Niagara College. I know Dan Patterson is here with the Niagara Advancement in Manufacturing. Those are key critical areas in which we are attracting attention. And that's what's being noticed. Business communities outside of Niagara are noticing that. When you look at other areas that we're getting noticed in, we're getting noticed in the opening of the First Ontario Performing Arts Center and the Marilyn I. Walker. How come? Because it's about celebrating and investing in culture, bringing culture into our downtown, and more importantly, creating a cluster of culture in the heart of our community. And that is getting headlines. Canadian architecture, looking at the style of the buildings that we're building. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot tell you how many people have come from away into our community and they can't believe what those buildings look like. It leaves us with an immense sense of pride. Pride's been missing for a while in our community. And we got it back. We got pride back. And when you look at what we're doing in terms of creating the scene, the foundation for the performances that are taking the stage, from the Niagara Symphony to the Carousel Players, Suitcase and Point, to Alan Doyle and the Gypsies, to Matthew Good, looking at the kind of talent that's coming into our city and also the kind of talent that we're incubating. That headline was, I think that made my day, because I'm a big fan of the Globe now. It made everything that the people in rooms like this have done, it made it all worth it when you look at how the arts, in the Globe and Mail, how the arts are redefining downtown St. Catharines, in the Globe and Mail. That means people in Toronto saw and see what we're doing here in our community. How impactful was that? The Toronto Star, the symphony has a home at last. The Toronto Star, the symphony has a home at last. And boy, any of you who haven't had the opportunity to hear the symphony in the Catharines Recital Hall or in Partridge Hall, if you haven't had an opportunity, I encourage you to get out and bring your family. You'll be in awe of the talent that we have right here in St. Catharines, in Niagara. And we're also becoming investment ready. We are investment ready. The IKEA announcement. IKEA, they just didn't throw a dart at the wall and go, oh, we're going to go to St. Catharines. Nope. Location, location, location. The reason that they're here, we're an urban center. They see Brock University with the young people in our community. They see that they're on the QEW, a major highway, and that's why they came here. And boy, the visibility they're going to get at the Fairview Mall, can't pay for that kind of advertising. It's a global brand attracted to here in St. Catharines. We should all be proud of that. We should be celebrating that. A global brand, a highly recognizable global brand, is located to St. Catharines. That enough is a cause for celebration. We should all be happy with that. And we look forward to the opening of the IKEA store soon. We have members of the IKEA team here, and they're setting up the date for when that'll be open. Enercon and Rankin, what they're doing at the Port Weller Dry Docks. For years, the Port Weller Dry Docks sat empty. Sat empty. Until Rankin and Enercon came along and said, what can we do there? Well, we're in the green energy business. We're building the wind turbines, making them out of concrete because of the leadership under Tom Rankin in terms of the know-how and how to do it. And guess what? They transformed, which was the dry dock area, into an area where they can now make the large columns, employing at some point up to 200 people and more as it starts to expand. But you know what? People drive by it now and they see all this activity. That's the way it was when I was growing up. Port Weller Dry Docks was a buzz of activity, and it's a buzz of activity again. So I want to thank, again, Rankin and Enercon for the investments that they're making in their community. When you look at Pantera, when was the last time you saw cranes in the downtown? Yeah, you saw them for the Meridian Center, and you saw them for the First Ontario Performing Arts Center. We needed those, because that's private, that's the public sector investment. We needed to have those there. Now it's private sector's time. And I tell you, when my kids walk downtown with me, because I live in the downtown area, and they see the cranes, that means growth for them. That means people are investing in the community. That means people are going to come to the downtown and live. Some would say, well, they're students. Yeah, they're students, bright young minds, and they've got the income to come in to support the Mind Bomb Records. They support the Beechwood Donuts. They can support Craft Arts and Market. They can support Mostly Comics. They can support the Works Burger Shop or Cully's. I know Adrian's here. They can go to Cully's later at night. I want to go there with my kids first before all the kids get there later. I get that. But that is what Pantera is doing in our downtown. They took a chance with us. And the chance is going to pay off, but someone's got to be the first past the post. And that's what they are, first past the post. And we'll be forever thankful for them. And it hasn't been easy. There's been trips along the way. But that's the kind of investments that we need. And ladies and gentlemen, you're going to see more and more and more of it coming forward. When we look at something that I was very proud of was the Pan Am Games. Were you not proud of our country during the Pan Am Games? Come on, folks. Look at that photo. We had at the end of the Henley course, we had the grandstands full. And I know Carlos had the biggest smile on his face, Carlos Garcia. He was there every day. The biggest smile on his face, how come? Because it put Port Dalhousie on the map. And people could say what they want about some of the aspects of Port Dalhousie. We're working hard on the areas that need to work, but guess what? Balzacs came to our community. They located in Port Dalhousie. We've got Wolfgang and Daryl with Osmosis, with Trisport, and what they're doing with the Lions Tavern, opening up a new brewery there. That's investment, folks, in Port Dalhousie. So when someone says nothing's happening in Port Dalhousie, tell them to go to Balzac's. And guess what? They didn't have to open up there. Diane's from Stony Creek. They could have opened up anywhere else, but they chose Port Dalhousie because they believe in Port Dalhousie. And so do I. And so does council. Things are going to happen. We're working with Fortress Group. Got to tell you one thing, they cleaned up that area more than it has been cleaned up in 10 years. So you can say what you want about the acceleration of the building that's taking place, but at least they return the phone calls, at least they work with Councillor Garcia, at least they're preserving the heritage properties that are there, and soon they're going to be building up. Okay? That's what's happening in our community. When you look at what happened recently, I know Bram's here from the Niagara Sports Commission. And that, to me, watching young women skating, representing our country, I couldn't have enjoyed something more than watching Canada play in our backyard, in our hometown. And yeah, it was a heartbreaker, overtime loss in the United States. But guess what? Those women will learn from that. And they'll be even stronger when they get up to the Olympic level. But we broke records in St. Catharines. That's what we did. We broke records. We crushed the records, because that's what we do. And that headline says it all. We broke records to go and watch young women play hockey, and they blew all of our expectations away. So everyone here who sponsored, who participated, who helped make it a reality, who volunteered, thank you very much for putting St. Catharines on the map. You deserve a round of applause. So in 34 seconds, I'm going to go. No, I'm just kidding. I got 34 seconds left. So you're with me for a little while longer. And I want to talk about our strategic plan, because it's a council strategic plan. And that table in the middle, table number 23, they are the ones that worked last year to put this strategic plan together. It wasn't easy. There was a lot of opinion about where we need to go, how are we going to get there, can we do this, can we do that? And the reality is the strategic plan is our roadmap. It's where we're going. It's where the corporation's going. And our senior team from the city is sitting over here at 43. And I got to say, they participated equally in the development of this plan, because it has to be a corporate strategic plan that is embraced by council and embraced by city staff, and we're doing it. But it was a discussion about where can we go, how do we get there? And a strategic plan, and many of you in business know, it's your roadmap. It's the direction that you want to be. It's thinking well past the horizon. You don't have your head down. You got to look up. Every once in a while, can't navel these. You got to look well past the horizon. That's what this strategic plan is doing. So it was a challenge for senior team, and it was a challenge for council. So when we started with our vision, and I'm going to sort of give you the background on the vision. When we started with the vision was, what do we want to be? Where do we want to go? How do you want to get there? And it was, well, let's just be the best city in Niagara. Pause there. But hey, we're the biggest city. So let's set our sights a little higher. Well, what about Ontario? And there was discussion about Ontario. What about Canada? Yep, there was discussion about Canada. And then it was, we're in a global market. North America is the new economy in terms of where we're working towards. We're a regional economy pushing ourselves outward. And so it was, can we be one of the best places in North America? And we agreed, and for me personally, it was driven by my daughter. And it's because my daughter came home with a photo, unbeknownst to me. She's an exceptional soccer player. And it said, in chalk, grade 6, I want to play for the Canadian Olympic soccer team. As a parent, you look at that and you say, I'm going to do everything in my power to make that reality, make that come true, make that dream come true. And I took the same approach with this vision. And so did the rest of council, because if we were asked as parents, when our kids come home, we were saying, I want to play in the OHL, I want to play for the Ice Dogs. Imagine saying to your kid, you're not good enough. You'll never make it. So here's Bill over here. But just imagine for what you would say to your kids if they came home and said, I want to cure cancer. So there was a local scribe who referred to this vision as moronic. Yeah, moronic. Imagine I said that to my daughter, and she said she wanted to play for the Canadian Olympic team. Imagine you said it to your kids when they said they want to come home and they want to cure cancer. They want to play in the NHL. Imagine saying that to your kids. That's essentially what someone was saying about this vision. But when you look at what we have, when you look at our asset base, when you look at everything that we have, the 400 Series Highway, we've got the Welland Canal between us, we've got Brock University and Niagara College. We're between a $1 billion economy in Buffalo and an exploding economy in Hamilton. We've got some Hamilton folks here that we invited down because we're looking to develop partnerships. When you look at our human capital, when you look at the investments that we made downtown, when you look at our new hospital in the West End, wow, that's the foundation for making this a reality. That is the foundation. How many other communities have that? I'm the mayor who goes around to other communities, and I'm not seeing what we have in other communities. We're at a pretty special moment right now. So this vision is about setting 25 years, 15 years down the road. We can achieve this. Guess what? Portland had to start somewhere. And they're one of the best cities in North America, and I think we can match them. Do you agree, Councillor Elliott?
It's the opportunity.
That's the opportunity. That's where we can go. Surrounded by 2 Great Lakes, surrounded by agriculture. Wouldn't want to live in California right now with the drought. Look where we are. We're perfectly situated. And so that's why this vision is important. And it's built on the 4 pillars of sustainability: culture, social, economic, environmental. So I'm just going to briefly touch on it. So the cultural side is more than just the bricks and mortar. The cultural side is investing in the human capital of creativity. The cultural side is respecting our heritage, but also respecting our history and being an inclusive community, welcoming new people to our community, making people feel like they're home. So we've set objectives under the cultural pillar that will create that kind of community and continue to invest in the creative arts. And it's not just the performing arts, but it's the spectrum of the arts, from music to writing to painting, all the things associated with creativity that we enjoy in our community. The next pillar is the greening the Garden City. It's about the environment, food safety, water quality. It's about embracing green energy, green resources. It's about connecting our community in green ways, making sure that we're not just following, but we're now leading on the green scale. Climate change is a reality, folks. Can't deny it. So we gotta start getting ahead of it. Preventing the flooding, taking a look at our infrastructure, making sure we're climate change ready. So those are the objectives that we've set under the environmental. When you look at the next one, social sustainability. This is about connecting people. This is about investing in our neighborhoods, connecting our neighborhoods, allowing kids to play in our parks, building our parks so that families get together. And we've got the wise guys here who have invested in parks, in a park in Merton. I want to thank them for their investment that they made into our community to create a new park in our community that will have a playscape for kids, including accessible playscapes. All of our parks should be accessible for everybody. So the social side is about building who we are, building inclusive neighborhoods and communities, connecting who we are together, and making sure no one gets left behind. On the economic side, everyone in here is familiar with the economic side, is about being open for business, is about supporting business in our community, attracting business in our community. It's about building our community on the foundations that you've set, the economic foundations. Making sure that young folks see this place as a place in which they can get a job. Making sure that families are gainfully employed, so they're not on waiting for food at the food bank. Making sure that we have prosperity for all starts with a strong economy. Making sure that the finances of our city are fiscally sound, and that's what we're working on. We've got the chair of the budget committee here, Matt Sisko, making sure that as part of the budget committee, we're creating not just financial stability today, but for 10 years down the road, creating reserves that we've never had before. Making sure that we're doing multi-year budgeting so we know where our corporate leaders are looking to invest. And that's important. We're creating that financial stability because you've asked us to do that, and that's prudent corporate building. So when we go from the pillars and talk about customer service, you heard me last year talk about the Disney experience. I'm not going to talk about it again, but we are bringing that into our fold. I will say that senior team has embraced customer service. People who come into City Hall, our goal is to make sure that they have a smile on their face when they leave. And they're bringing that into the forefront of training at the city. We want to make sure that people feel that it's your City Hall, not my City Hall, your City Hall. And we do it by having a customer care that the customers put at the center of what we do. And we're investing in training on that. We want to be best in class. We want to be responsive. It's our arenas, it's our parks, it's our libraries, it's our transit system, whatever it may be. The customer service approach is going to make you feel like you matter and make you feel like you're part of the city in a welcoming way. And it starts with the culture at City Hall. It's an open for business. It's an open for community approach. They are doing an amazing job. And I know it because when I go down and I'm at, who wants to pay parking tickets? Everyone's angry when they pay parking tickets. But people are coming down with a smile now. It's like, oh yeah, I got a ticket. And there's a conversation taking place. And they have a good smile on their face. Even though we're taking $12. Not all the time. But that's the kind of approach that you want to have. There's people here who are in that business. You know what I'm talking about. Len Penichetti and Paul Speck sitting over there, Doug Whitty's over here. In the wine business, you want people to come back. You got to give them a good customer service experience, and that's what we're trying to do so that the business community sees that when they come to do a building in our community, it's going to happen without a lot of roadblocks so that when they go talk to their buddies, where's Leo? Leo gone? I don't think Leo wanted to hear my conversation. But when you look at builders like Leo in our community, Mike Mazzolino, is he gone too? There he is. Guys like Mike, they're going to go tell their friends that we're a place in which you can invest and get a great return on your investment. That's the kind of community that we're going to build. And that has to start with customer service. When you look at the Mayor's Poverty Reduction Initiative, that's an initiative I took on myself and with the support of those on council. When you look at the numbers, it's on the screens right there. We talk about the YWCA, and we have a team from the YWCA. How many women they served? 1,254. 44 women in an emergency shelter. Over 59,000 meals since last year. Affordable waiting list for housing, over 5,700. We have the chair here who's taken that initiative on himself as well to get that list down. And he's working hard. When you talk about community care, when you look at what they distribute on 4,000 pounds every day. Betty Lou Suter's here as well. Niagara Region Poverty Reduction Initiative, 22% of the population is low income, uses public transit. We heard about public transit today. And so, from these numbers, what do we need to do? And that's what I've been working on, working with community leaders, working with those who have lived experience of poverty, learning about what the city can do, because we can't solve everything. So we've come up with a model, it's called Compassionate City Building. And Compassionate City Building, this is a feeling of sympathetic consciousness of others' distress, together with a desire to alleviate it. It's care plus action. The lenses that we can choose to use when it comes to what's happening in our community. We can do the lens of indifference. We can do the lens of frustration. We can do the critical lens. You got yourself there, get yourself out. Or we can do the compassionate lens. And that compassionate lens is the one in which we are modeling here in St. Catharines. I'm working with Tim Arnold from Southridge, and we're putting together a training module for our staff. Because I believe it starts with it. And for my position, it starts within the corporation. We have over 600 employees in the city of St. Catharines. They are in the parks, they are in the arenas, they're in the libraries, they're on the sidewalks, they're on the streets. They see more poverty than anyone else in this room, except for those who are providing the service. They see it. They see the older folks who are living and struggling. They see the young folks who can't play hockey. They see the mother coming to the library and who's embarrassed because she's got to fill out an application because she can't afford a library card. And then she has to fill out an application to go to the aquatic center. Then she has to fill out an application to go to the library and get a discount. Guess what? Part of Compassionate City Building is making sure we're working with the city, so it's a one-ticket window. You walk in, you explain the situation in a very empathetic way. Guess what? You don't have to fill out all these forms anymore. We'll work with the community care. We'll work with the YWCA. Because it's kind of humiliating to have to fill out all those forms. That's one small way we can have an impact. So we organized a bus tour. And the bus tour took us to the under the bridge over at 4th Avenue. I don't know about you. I run that bridge, under the bridge, on a fairly frequent basis. But that's where homeless people live. So I don't know how many of you have walked under the bridge, but that experience with city staff really showed us what it's like to live under the bridge. And then we went to Start Me Up. Then we went to the YWCA. Then we went by the food bank. Then we went to Centennial Park. Why would we go to Centennial Park? Who's been in Centennial Park lately? Okay, so we got a couple of hands here. I run that every week. I changed my running pattern because I wanted to see what's happening in the park. So we're doing a great job of bringing that park back to life. And we cut down a whole bunch of trees and bushes. And then there was women who work in the sex trade who, when I was walking through the park with them, as they were talking about what's happening in St. Catharines, because they were trying to get a handle on it, they said, "You took away our escape route." What? Yeah, all the shrub and stuff allowed us to escape when someone was trying to beat us up. Yeah. One of those moments where unintended consequence of what we did. So we have to make sure that we're working with the most vulnerable. We have to make sure that we're creating the resources, and we can do that through the Compassionate City model. So on that bus, our team heard about those living in those conditions, but also those who have lifted themselves out. And there wasn't a dry eye after that bus tour. And they all felt empowered. Empowered to the point where there was a letter from a city worker who there was a man stumbling down the road when she was walking her dog. Previously, she would have just kept walking. But after this tour, she approached the person who was stumbling and got him safely to an area where he wasn't going to get hit by a car. That's compassionate city building. And if we can do it at the city, if we can bring this module into the city, if we can learn at the city about how to be compassionate, how to have that lens of compassion, we could do it with other companies. We could work with the local business community and take that module being developed by Tim and bring it into your business. Because I think at the end of it, if we all feel the ownership, if we all feel that sense that we're all in this together, I think we'll build a better community. I'll leave you just with one small example. I was at the Aquatic Center and was late for a strategic planning session, and it was just before 9 o'clock, and I was rushing in, and there was a fellow who was walking out dragging his leg. He was clearly, he was a homeless man. And I walked by him quickly, kept walking, and then something said to me, turn around and say hi. And so I turned around and said, hey, how's it going? And he turned around, he looked at me, and he was like, you're the mayor. That was his voice. You're the mayor. Yes, I am. And he said, I've been looking to talk to the mayor. Okay, I got time. So I went up, started talking to him. It was a nice sunny day, and there was a bench open. So I took him over to the bench, and we sat there for 20 minutes. He knew my family from Facer Street. He played at the billiard hall with my Uncle Michael. He said, when I'm not on my meds, I'm not a nice guy. Been on the streets since 2014. His name was Frank. His name is Frank. Gave him my card and said, if you're ever downtown, stop by the mayor's office. You wouldn't let me into the mayor's office looking like this. I'll let anybody in. Come on in and we'll have a conversation. So I went into the Aquatic Center after saying goodbye to him. And I said, what does Frank do? Does he come in? Yeah, he comes in. He comes in and he'll get a coffee. Do you ever let him take a shower? And it's, not really. Why not? Don't have a staff or feel uncomfortable. No. Okay, we'll change that. Maybe sometimes someone just needs a warm shower. Maybe that's that little light of dignity they have. Give them a warm shower. So we'll work on that with Parks and Rec. So when a homeless person comes in, or a person in distress, we'll have the tools to be able to manage that and help them. And to help up. Not giving something else, to help up. So that's the Compassionate City model, and I apologize for taking a bit too long to talk about it. It's about public transit, it's about integrating our transit. Ian, I thank you for saying that. Integrating our public transit is about bringing Go to our community. How come? Because Go builds prosperity. Al and his team and the mayors of St. Catharines, Mayor Easton here, they've all been pushing for Go. Go is going to be a reality. Go will be coming to our community. It's not an if, it's a when. And we're very, very, very close. And I want to thank Al for his leadership on that. Round of applause. So that's our vision, folks. So that's the sort of last slide, but it's just the start of something. And it's because you need to be the ambassadors, you need to be the champions, you need to be the cheerleaders of where we want to go. Because this little fella's not going to do it. The team of counselors aren't going to do it. It's going to be done by all of us, working together. And you know what? There will be friction, there will be opportunities where we're not going to agree on everything. But if our vision is to be number one, we can push aside all the pettiness. We can push aside the negativity that keeps us back. And we can embrace the positive side of the equation and aim to be number one. It's within us to achieve. The only ones holding us back are us. You know, all due respect to Hamilton, Hamilton's on a roll. Let's hitch our wagon to that economy for a bit and catch up a bit and see what happens. But ladies and gentlemen, our future is ours to behold. Our future is in our control. And as such, that vision is where we can go. And so it gives me great pleasure. And we have a special table here. We have a special table of refugees who arrived in St. Catharines on June 6th. And we invited them here today. They don't speak English, so I spoke a lot. So I don't know if the interpreter was able to convey, but I want to convey this one message, which is, welcome to your new home. We are so excited that you're here, and this is your new family. So on behalf of the City of St. Catharines, I would like everyone to give this family, sitting over there, a St. Catharines welcome.